little bit of a different blog. I'm starting a leadership series where I'm talking to some thought leaders about interviewing. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to José Placido, an ex-Montrealer, a proud McGill graduate, who today is CEO of corporate and institutional banking at BNP Paribas for the Americas. Prior to that, he was chief executive at RBC Dexia, stationed in London. How are you today, Jose?
I'm great, Don, and how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Thank you so much for taking your time to speak to me. Because sometimes, I want to hear other people's point of view, not just mine. So maybe the first question I have for you is, are there any universal things that you look for when you're hiring someone?
Well, I think, we all have a vision of what we want to hire, but the most impressive candidates, I think, are those that have come to an interview extremely well prepared.
Mhm.
In two dimensions. One about our company, about what we're doing, maybe read up on our strategic plan, can articulate back what is attracting them to join our company, and where they see themselves fitting and what kind of impact they're going to have. So I think those that come very well prepared to have a discussion and a dialogue about future employment and where they see themselves in our company always impresses me. I think it's an onus of them to do as much due diligence on us as we're doing due diligence on them doing an interview and everything we do before we hire.
And that's probably one of the biggest complaints that hiring managers tell us as recruiters is that the candidate arrives unprepared, and it shows.
Yeah.
Is there anything that a candidate could do or has done that completely knocks you out of your seat?
Yeah, look, I mean, as you know, the interview process has many levels, right? The first interview is really just what I call generally getting to know someone if they can get to second base in the interview process. Where someone, when they get to second base, is really they're starting to now visualize what the possibilities may be by joining our company. There's a couple of occasions where somebody actually brought in their 100-day plan, or here's what I see myself in 6 months, and so on and so forth. And usually one of the questions I do ask during the interview is, if you get hired and 6 months after you get hired or a year after you're going to get hired, what does success look like? Is that somebody can articulate the milestones and the KPIs they hope to achieve by then. And that gives me a sense that the person is not just looking for a job, but has a sense of what the future may look like within our company. And I think that's really important for me, that we're just not hiring for today, but we're hiring for what the possibilities may be tomorrow with this candidate and the impact this candidate may have in our organization.
Wow, I love that. If somebody did that, definitely I could see that could knock your socks off. Are there any salary negotiations that turn you off?
I don't think anything turns me off. I think sometimes people have a bigger impression of what their value may be than what the price of the seat looks like.
Okay.
And occasionally, and not occasionally, but there are numerous occasions where we've gone beyond what we're willing to pay for someone. That's when all the what I call stars align. The interview goes great. We can see this candidate beyond what we're hiring for, and therefore we're willing to pay that price, not just for the seat, but also for the possibilities that the candidate may be in terms of the future. After 2 or 3 years doing the job that we've hired them for, we can see them in other roles in our organization, and usually around change agents, people who can come in and really transform an organization pretty quickly.
Oh, wow. What's the best recruitment or hiring advice would you give to either the candidate or the hiring manager?
I think for us as a hiring, we need to be very specific and very clear. What is the role? What kind of latitude and empowerment will this person have? And what are the expectations and KPIs we expect from this person in the first 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? And can we articulate that back during an interview process, or, as you know, multiple interviews? But by the time a candidate comes to me, I'm really looking for, it's usually leadership roles that I'm interviewing for. And therefore, I need to see them being aligned culturally. Do they follow the values and conduct rules and the culture of BNP Paribas? Do they articulate back what they can bring for our organization beyond what's on the specs of a job? And therefore, for us, we have an onus of being very clear of the good and the bad of ugly, of what the person is going to walk in and how we're going to help that person be successful. And when somebody can articulate back the immediate impact they can have if we hire them. Like
Right.
I think every senior hire, we need to see an impact that they're going to bring, positive impact to our organization, because it's an investment. As you know, hiring somebody is probably one of the biggest investments. And if it goes positive, if everything goes right, excellent. We also have to plan if something goes wrong. It's an investment both from the employee side, but also from the employer, that is an investment that has no return.
Right. Is there anything a candidate could do that could be completely disqualify them in the process with you?
For me, I think, look, our culture is pretty defined, right? Like we're very, very high on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Very high. Like that is one of our cornerstones. We're into sustainability and so on. So if a candidate values or approach or answers that we can identify as behavior that will not be conducive to our culture, they get disqualified.
Okay.
And we have questions in the interview process that we don't really interview about the technicality of the job, but also the cultural fit of the individual to our organization.
Right.
So I think people, they don't disqualify, we disqualify them because we think, okay, technically great person, but culturally no. I'll give you an example. People who speak just in I, whole interview process is supposed to we, is a signal of an individualistic person. We're very collaborative as an organization, and we don't need superstars. We need people who are very professional, very qualified, and can work together as a team for the greater good.
Wow. You realize you're giving answers for the next person you're going to interview, right?
Well, I hope so. Good for them. And if they're well prepared, they would take the advice. But we're also looking for authenticity, right? It's good answers, but if it's not in their DNA, what I'm saying, we'll find that out as well.
Yeah, very quickly.
If this is true to you, then figure out how to articulate how you can work in a collaborative environment. We run a global organization, so we need to be always self-aware that everyone we hire is an ambassador of our culture. And so anybody from, whether it's social media, has to be aligned. We're very in tune to hiring people that represent the best of our organization and the best of themselves.
Right.
And we might not be the right organization for them.
Right. Yeah, sure, true. Any parting words, anything you want to leave anybody with?
Go into an interview with, it is your last shot. You got a shot to put your best face forward. Make sure that if the interviewer hasn't asked you the questions that you think would highlight the best value of you, how you are as a candidate, that you summarize. You have some closing remarks and remind them of, here's a couple of things that I want you to know about me, just to make sure that the interviewer brings what I call, has a sense of who you are, because interviews are not a perfect science.
Right.
And then if you leave the process and haven't had a discussion back and forth, then it's been a one-sided process. And you have to make it a two-sided process. And when you have a two-sided process, the interviewer feels that they've had a discussion with somebody, and you start engaging as opposed to interviewing. And when you have an engagement process, that's usually when things lead to positive results.
And do you believe in telling the candidate, I really like you, or you don't want to give them that kind of hint?
Look, I think if you've had a good moment and you know that the candidate satisfies all the technical abilities of the mandate, and in addition to that, what you're seeing as in engaging in that interview process with the individual, that you're going to take them to the next level, it's okay to say, this was a very good interview. I got to have a good sense of who you are. I really like what I've heard, and you'll hear from us soon, right?
Okay.
I think there's nothing wrong. This whole guessing game, because if you believe that candidate has something to offer, and that person is looking for a job, others will also see what you've seen. And when you see a good candidate in an environment like ours, where there's a fight for talent, you got to accelerate the pedal. You got to accelerate the process.
Absolutely.
And you got to go to close pretty quick.
Yes, absolutely. Jose, thank you so much for your insight, your time, wonderful insight that you're going to provide to my audience.
Good luck. Thank you for having me. I'm glad you invited me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Don.